potential civil war to bloody global war, massive civil unrest, I could definitely see that happening. If you're not defending the country, what's the option? You have actually got boots on the ground in Ukraine, and we have done for a while.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Prepper Podcast, and I'm joined tonight by Tom, the Prepared Pathfinder. How you doing, Tom?
Good, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm excellent. It's been about a year since we spoke on here last, I think.
Yeah, it's been a little while, eh?
Yeah, well, I saw you at Lee's thing at the Bugout, which was nice to see you there. But saying that, most of the time you were chopping wood, so...
Yeah.
I'm no point asking you the usual, are you a prepper and all that? We all know that. So I just wanted to talk about how things have been going. First off, this year you arranged the prepper area in the Bushcraft show. So I want to know, like, from your perspective, how all that went.
Yeah, it's pretty good, to be fair. I did it for the first time last year. This year, obviously, the second time you do something, it's always going to run a little bit smoother. The first time was a bit of a sort of tryout. But yeah, it went really well. We had some really interesting guys on board doing some presentations about various prepper-related subjects. And yeah, it went really well. It was from the organisers' side, as in the Bushcraft show, it was kind of not ideal, but it worked. We had to organise our own sign to put up, and there wasn't an area set by for us, as in like a presentation area, which would have been nice. I did ask for that, but it didn't materialise. So we kind of just made up our own thing, which was okay up until when the winds got up. There was a really, really heavy winds came in and kind of destroyed the shelter, the makeshift shelter that we made. But then we just cracked on with what we could do to improvise it again. But yeah, it went really well. And it was, like I say, there was some really good presentations put on by some really knowledgeable and interesting people, actually.
Yeah. Do you find what the Bushcraft community in Hull, do they take to it well, or do they avoid? Some people just avoid the area, or do they all kind of integrate well?
I kind of guess it was a bit of a mixture, really. There was definitely some interest. There was definitely a fairly decent amount of interest from people that were at the show. I don't know, because you don't actually know until you start speaking to people. I don't know exactly whether they were people that were interested in prepping or whether they just saw that and thought, maybe this is worth paying attention to and listening to some of the subjects. But yeah, there was a good amount of interest from people walking through and stuff. Yeah, it was decent.
Excellent. I think we're seeing that kind of trend across prepping. I don't know if you've seen it on your channel, but just there seems to be a lot more people realizing the geopolitical climate and thinking, I need to do something about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential threats and actual threats facing us now, isn't there? From potential civil war to bloody global war to famine to flipping, the prices of everything going through the roof. Cost of living is ridiculous, and just caring for your family with all those things that are facing you. Plus, I mean, the fact that we're getting like cyber attacks fairly often now from external players and countries, it's just wrecking whole like bank systems and shopping and all sorts of things. So it's only ever getting more and more sensible, I think, to kind of think a little bit about prepping for yourself and for your family and your loved ones.
Yeah, I think the people that are burying their head in the sands are the ones that are going to regret it in the end. But I think there's more and more people looking up above the parapet, as it were.
Yeah.
Speaking of your channel, I watched the Vietnam series, and that was after last time we spoke. That was brilliant.
Cool.
What was that like to do?
Oh, it was amazing. Obviously, the making of videos was just a byproduct of being out there. I wasn't going out there to make videos, but I've always wanted to go to Vietnam. My dad actually served out there in 1965 with the Australian Army. And I think as a result of that, I've always had that vested interest. Plus, I've always been interested in sort of military history and recent conflicts and stuff. So going out there it's just something I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. And for one reason or another, it's never actually materialized until this year. But it was absolutely amazing to go and visit those battlefields and see some of the history that was connected with the Vietnam War.
the Ku Chi tunnels. I think I'm saying that right. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
You actually went down there. It looked like a bit of a squeeze. You're trying
Oh,
trying to get down in there. That's it was a bit tight down there, and a
yeah,
bit of a
yeah,
squeeze to get down there in the first. A couple more sessions at the gym, and you wouldn't have had a chance.
yeah. It was definitely a tight fit, mate. And I mean, getting my shoulders into that little box, getting into the actual tunnel, I had to kind of put one in and then shift this shoulder underneath the parapet and then get the other one in, because if I'd gone in just straight down, I couldn't have got my shoulders in.
Yeah, looked proper claustrophobic inside there as well. That must have been. How long did they spend down there at any one time?
What? How long did we spend down there? Not that
No, how
long,
long did
really. I mean,
they spend down there?
they lived down there. They lived down
Yeah.
there, mate. Yeah, that was
Wow.
down there for years. I mean, obviously not just constantly down there for years, but pretty much most of the time, a lot of those guys, those and even their families, they took their flipping wives and kids down there and all sorts to
Mm,
escape the bombing and just to escape the Americans and the Allied forces.
mm.
But yeah, it just makes you realise how flipping savage it was over there, that they had to resort to these tactics and living underground like flipping moles. It was flipping crazy.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the traps as well. What I also found quite interesting is you saw a lot. There's loads of damaged and leftover hardware. They must have
Oh yeah.
just left a lot of things. I mean, it looked like loads of it.
Yeah, yeah, there was. The thing is, it's pretty much the same as what we saw over in Afghanistan, where they left loads of stuff because the idea was the local forces were going to then take the fight. The idea was they're going to reinforce them to the point where they're able to take over. But in
Hmm.
reality, what they did is they just ran out of time, resources, interest, public opinion, and they just had to go anyway.
Yeah,
So the South Vietnamese forces had what the Americans had left them. Yeah, and all that eventually fell into the communist hands, you know. So we're talking about helicopters, aircraft, tanks,
yeah.
APCs, weapons, everything. Same as Vietnam. Sorry, same as Afghanistan.
Yeah, I mean, you went to the one of the war museums there, and it looked absolutely heaving as well. If I've been to the war museum here the other day, and there's about 3 people in it. There's a lot of interest over there by the looks of it.
Yeah, the museums over there are very different to, well, in some ways, to what you see in the West. You know, they don't hold back on some of the gruesome stuff that is part of war. You know, so in the one that was in, I think it was in Ho Chi Minh City, they showed there was all the whole exhibition about chemical warfare, Agent Orange, victims
Hmm.
of Agent Orange, you know, babies that have been born, you know, with deformities since that, and then had pictures of what they call the American War Crime bloody exhibit of all sorts of stuff, that, you know, dead bodies and all sorts of stuff, things that you don't normally see in a museum in somewhere in the
Yeah.
UK or in the Western world. But you know, as sort of hard as it is to see it all, it was a great, you know, great to see it in, not, you know, in a blood kind of thirsty way, but it was good to see the actual raw imagery of the war. So it hadn't been kind of filtered.
Yeah, that's it, because we get this filtered view over here, and
Yeah,
they hide most of the horrors of war, which is, I mean, maybe that's a recruitment thing. I don't know. But it's scary, because the more we try and forget history, the more we're destined to repeat it, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
But there
It was
was there was, go on.
sorry, I was just going to say it looked like a poignant moment. You managed to scatter some of your dad's ashes over there as well.
Yeah, that's right. So I went to the Longtown Memorial.
Hmm.
Longtown was the biggest battle the Australians fought over there. And my dad wasn't in that battle, but he was there whilst it happened.
Hmm.
He was in another place, and he knew some of the guys that were in that battle. But anyway, he'd always said that he wanted to go back to Vietnam. He always wanted to go back there, and he never did. He never actually made it. So in a way, I made that happen for him, and kind of laid not all of his, but some of his ashes to rest over there.
Love it, love it. That's awesome. It wasn't all military. You also had. I mean, I loved seeing the street train, the train that goes right down the street where everyone's eating and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
won't spoil it too much though, because everyone needs to go over and watch. Is it 5 videos over there on your channel for the Vietnam? 5 of them.
Yeah, that's it. There's 5 videos. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's funny though, because some of those videos have had some pretty low views, like less than 1,000. And the one that was about Hamburger Hill, that's had, I think, 56,000, which is
Wow.
crazy. I don't understand the sort of logic of how those
I
views have kind of started up. It's crazy.
if you figure out the YouTube algorithm, please let us all know because it's just
Yeah. I mean, I
madness.
wish I did know. Yeah, I wish I did. It's flipping nuts, isn't
Uh,
it?
yeah, definitely. Let's jump to present day. Anyone who doesn't know, you can go and see the previous interview that me and Tom did. Tom served. To just very quickly for the people that have not seen it. How long did you serve, and who with?
So I was in the parachute regiment for 25 years, regular army. Most of that time was in the Pathfinders, which is a forward reconnaissance unit for the Airborne Brigade. I also did 3 years in the Red Devils, which is the Army Parachute Display Team, and I also served in one para initially for 5 years. And then when I left the regular army, I joined the reserves, and I was in 4 para for a few years. And actually went back to the Red Devils as a reservist. It's the first time they've ever done it for a couple of years. But sadly, during that time, I injured myself so badly that I had to leave the military. So that's why I'm not basically serving anymore as such.
I just wanted to give people context who have not met you before on the channel. They might have come across
Yeah,
this. Like I say, the algorithm's a nightmare. Before we
yeah,
jump onto like current times and stuff. Currently, you're working, helping out, running a cadets corps. Is that right?
yeah. That's right. So I work at a school running a combined cadet force unit. So like when I say I'm not in unit, well, I'm not in the military as such. I'm still in uniform.
Mhm.
And basically, yeah, we've got a large contingent of about 200 cadets from all 4 services, so Navy, Army, Air Force, and Marines. And yeah, we go out on exercises, or we go on range days. They go on adventure training activities, all that sort of thing. And it's great because it teaches the kids all the good stuff that the military does, all the soft skills that you don't realize you're getting, like teamwork and discipline and all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. The reason I wanted to bring it up because we briefly spoke around the fire at the Bugout about like the current recruitment drive. Because my impression at first was that you might have had your funding cut for cadets, but you said that's very wrong. It's gone the opposite way, right?
Yeah, well, the MOD are heavily investing, sorry, in the cadet forces at the moment because they see these, youngsters as the future of the armed forces, which is, absolutely right. They don't all join the military, but there's a fair few of them that do get the interest, get the bug for doing outdoors stuff and fieldcraft and all that sort of thing. And quite a few of them do go on to join the military. So at the moment, we've actually got more cadets than we have regular army soldiers, which is
Really, I
crazy.
was just going to say, have you seen an increase in the number of people involved and interested in this? And is it them or is it parents pushing them? Because I
Well,
push
for
my
us,
lad.
it's a bit different for us because in a CCF, you're in a school, and
Mhm.
the first year that they do it is compulsory. So they're there whether they want to be there or not.
All right.
And then it's only after that. Different schools work it different ways, but for us, they have to do the first year, and then after that, they get to stay or not if they want to. So they volunteer. So it's slightly different for us, but yeah, I'm not sure what it's like for the external like ACF Army cadets that are outside of schools, whether they're seeing a rise in numbers or not. I'm not sure. I
Mm.
think they're struggling a little bit because youngsters nowadays they're not so much interested in running around in the woods. They're more interested in doing what we're doing here, sitting on a
Yeah.
laptop, playing
Yeah,
games and all
they want to make a living doing Minecraft. If we did Minecraft, Tom, we'd both be YouTube millionaires and not struggling.
that. It's funny you should say about that. I've just made a video that I'm going to be posting out for an activity that I'm getting involved in soon, and I've had to blur out my face so I look like I've got a Minecrafty face as it goes because I'm trying to hide my identity.
Oh, nice, like it. You'll probably
Yeah.
look a bit like Steve from the Minecraft movie with the
Mm,
beard going
mm,
on as well.
yeah.
um, so we spoke also at the Bugout Weekender about current events, and you mentioned them briefly there.
Yeah.
I'd love to get your thoughts on it because I mean I've got a couple of friends who are still in, who I speak to now and again. Not that many, lost touch with a lot of people, but boots
Yeah.
on the ground in Gaza and maybe Ukraine. What's your thoughts on this? Is it a reality or is it more media spin?
I mean, I don't know, but I mean, we have actually already got, without giving too much away, we have actually got boots on the ground in Ukraine, and we have done for a while.
We
And I'm not
we
just talking,
expect as much, yeah.
yeah, and I'm not just talking about mercenaries here. I'm talking about military.
Yeah.
Um, But for Gaza, I don't know. I don't really see the point too much, and I don't see a very quick end to what's going on over there. I think that's going to go on for years. Sadly, I don't want it to, but I think it's going to go on for a long time. And
Has
the only
done.
way,
It's gone on
yeah,
for hundreds of years already, right?
yeah, but the current conflict in its current form, Trump keeps chopping off saying, "Oh, I'm going to end the war, and then I can end it in days," and all this. Well, they're back to flipping striking each other again, now, and yet he's
Yeah,
still trying to claim the ceasefires in effect, but it's not. And there's no way we're going to deploy troops out to somewhere like that when there's fighting going on and the risk is mega high. We just don't have the troops to do it anyway. We're not like we used to be even 20, 30 years ago. We've got so few numbers now that
yeah,
we've got to be very careful and very selective on where we're putting troops, especially if it's a high risk area. And we just don't have the money. We just do
yeah,
not have the money in the MOD that we did have, say, 30 years ago. So yeah, there's a lot of threats coming up, and I think we've got to be very careful what we do with our troops nowadays because, like I say, the numbers just aren't there anymore. Sadly,
yeah. And with the threat of that and how much the numbers have gone down, obviously, just before Sunak left power, he mentioned bringing back national service.
yeah,
Um, I mean, personally, for me, for discipline purposes alone, I see it as a good idea. Now, let's be clear to the audience: not conscription, national service. This doesn't mean you're going to put them with regular troops and send them off somewhere. It's more like going through the training more than anything else. What's
yeah.
your thoughts on that, Tom? Do you think that could be an option with the numbers the way
It's
they are?
if we ever did go down that route, which we may actually do at some point, because if we do end up in a conflict, we're going to end up having to do that. I think to get the numbers in, it's going to have to be managed very, very carefully
Hmm.
because the majority of young people nowadays aren't interested. They're just not interested in fighting for the country and doing hard graft to do that things, as opposed to like we were just saying now about doing something that's just online, being a YouTuber or something. I know I
Yeah,
sound a little bit dodgy saying that, but yeah, a lot of young people don't want to, and obviously people there's a lot of foreign nationals in the country now that don't identify as being British. So why would they fight for a country they don't identify as being part of as such, even though they're living here?
yeah,
It could cause some major, major strife in this country, and that's another potential threat coming up.
yeah. I mean, because if they were doing something like that, if I mean, depending on when you're thinking of conflict, this is not something you can roll out overnight. It's not something you
Mhm.
can get, the
So,
boot done straight away. It's going to take
no,
years to sort out,
yeah,
and obviously get
absolutely.
that first intake up to a certain level.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But there are other countries in the world that manage it in a different way where they get the option. It doesn't have to be military that they go to, but some sort of public service,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's fire service, police, or other public services. So if
Yeah,
there's people in there that are, not interested in any shape or form in the military, maybe if you give them a bit of a get out clause, but they're still serving the country and being useful, then maybe that's another way of doing it. I don't know.
yeah. I saw a debate the other day, and it was about conscription. It had a very interesting panel, special forces, from gym people to special forces to all sorts on there, and they were basically saying, could we do conscription with that same generation? How the hell could they enforce conscription on that kind of generation? And
Yeah,
obviously, we've always been a proud volunteer-based force, right?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, even guys that have formerly served, in the military in the past, I even see comments from them on social media saying, "Oh, I wouldn't serve this government and all that sort of crap."
Mm.
Yeah, no, I would have done. I've done it then, but I wouldn't do it now and stuff. Thing is, it's not about this government, is it? It's about this country. If
Yeah,
you're not defending the country, what's the option? You just, I don't know, let it be defeated by whoever else we might end up coming up against. Imagine if the Ukrainians did that. Imagine on
yeah.
the invasion, they went, "Well, I'm not fighting for flipping this current government because they're a bunch of wankers." What are you going to do? Just let the Russian steamroller in? You know,
That's what a lot of people expected, didn't they?
silly, isn't it? But what I'm getting at is the attitude of some of the people some of the comments I see. It's about defending. It's about fighting for your country. It's not about the current prime minister or the current government. I know that they are heading it up, but it's about defending your own country and supporting your own country.
Yeah, so somebody made a comment on mine because obviously because I wanted to hit before that 42-year-old too old to do anything. I've applied to rejoin the reserves, and someone commented on that saying, "Oh, I can't believe you want to fight for this country, this
Yeah,
king or something like that, or something like
yeah.
that." And it was just like they just don't get it. But I mean, what's the alternative? I
That's
mean,
what I'm saying. Yeah, just roll over and let them flipping take over, whoever it might be. Absolute
yeah,
bollocks.
and
Yeah,
it's scary because there's all sorts of different threats. I don't think the people in charge. I think the people in charge of the military probably have a lot of ideas of what they need to do, but they're not getting the funding and the support from the other people in charge. So
yeah,
I mean, there's lots of years banded around. I think recently it was like France saying that all the hospitals had to be ready by 2020, 2030 to receive mass casualties and stuff like that. If we
yeah.
are talking a 5 year timeline, they need to be starting that national service and getting them recruits through the door in the next year, right?
Yeah, I mean, the timeline that was given was 3 to 5 years, and that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So if we were going by that, we're talking like 1 to 3 years now. You know, so um, yeah, who knows? Who knows what might come up around the corner next time in the next few years? But I do think in the people that know this, the like intelligence analysts and the governments, they are taking it seriously, but I think they're all a little bit in a quandary of what they're actually going to do, what they're going to action to make it
Hmm.
happen. Because as we know, the last I don't know how many years, 10 years or something, the Western world is getting it's more and more strapped for cash for everything, isn't it? We've been hit by all sorts of things, the
Allegedly.
pandemic and all that. Yeah, but I mean, the fact is, all countries are now strapped.
Yeah.
So making anything happen without the money is a difficult one unless they change how they do things. Go on a war footing like the Russians have.
I mean, lead up to wars very profitable for most countries and stuff like
Yeah, yeah,
that. The problem we've got as an island nation, we're no longer independent. We don't have industry here. We have our major export is education and people.
yeah,
Yeah, that's one of our major things we export is educated people from our universities that then go off to work in other countries and stuff like
yeah,
that. It's
yeah,
not steel, it's not coal, it's nothing like that.
yeah.
So when it comes to hard tactile money, it's like we've got a what gold reserve that's allegedly got everyone else's gold in there, but it might not
Right.
have. Nobody knows. So it's interesting times, and this is all just talking about globally. We're not even mentioned locally.
Yeah,
Um, let me get your opinion on this. Now, I'll tell you mine first, so you know where I stand. Right. I hear lots of things about civil war. I follow a lot of different YouTubers, and I value their opinion, and I see why they're saying this. But for me, I still can't get my head around the logistics of it. We're not an armed country like the United States. Yes, we've got
no,
firearms, and some people have shotgun licenses and Section 1s and stuff like that. But we're nowhere near as armed as like the United States for like some sort of rebellion against tyranny. Everything is government forces. So
yeah,
is a civil war possible, or are we just talking mass civil unrest?
yeah. I think it's more likely to be massive unrest
Yeah.
because we don't have the power to challenge the government, do we? And I think if we did have any kind of thing that even slightly resembled a civil war, it wouldn't be trying to topple the government, not from the indigenous British people at least,
Mm.
but from like I say, if there was something like as we were just talking about conscription coming in, then
Yeah.
that could be a trigger to violence with people saying, "Yeah, I'm not fighting for my country," and then kicking off and rioting.
Almost like a right and left cultural civil
Yeah,
war.
kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think it could be. That's the form I think it could possibly take. I mean, unless there was a massive change in how we do our business in politics and running our country, I don't think we'd ever have an actual proper civil war. But a massive civil unrest, I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, because I spoke to currently serving police officer while at the Bugout Weekender as well, and he said their recruitment numbers and their numbers are going the same way as the armed forces, where their numbers
Yeah,
are just down. And
yeah,
I don't blame them. Who'd want to be a cop when as soon as you do something, you
yeah,
potentially lose your job and your freedom because you've made an action?
yeah, and exactly that. I heard something just on the news. I think it was yesterday. about a policeman in where was it? I think it might be Manchester,
Mhm.
who's being investigated, and because it's already been on the news, then his card's marked. He's knackered already, isn't he? No matter what the outcome is,
Yeah.
he's probably on a loser there anyway, just because of something that was recorded on a camera. Because
Yeah.
he made the statement on the news was he made a derogatory comment about the person that he was talking to. I mean, for God's sake, they're on about sacking him because of that, which is crazy. And because we're so sort of touchy-feely with our rules and laws in this country, I think a lot of decent people in those kind of jobs that are working bloody hard, on the coalface facing absolute scumbags every day, they're
Yeah.
probably just going, why should I bother if I'm getting no support from the people I'm working for? Sod that,
Yeah. And as a new recruit going through, and you look at the salaries compared to going out doing some work on the railways or working on the roads and stuff like that, and yeah, why would you potentially risk? I mean, the guy that probably took the shots at the Manchester synagogue will be behind a desk or pushing papers for the next 12 months while there's an
Yeah,
inquiry into one
yeah,
incident.
I know.
It's not like he does a thing, he does a job, he moves on, he serves somewhere else. That's a highly trained person that is now out of
Yeah,
action for however many months it takes to inquest.
yeah. And that's the first thing they do. They take them off duty, don't they? And
Mm-hmm.
whilst the inquest is on, that can go on forever. Yeah, it's crazy.
That scares me as a civilian because that would make an officer. Let's say I'm at the Christmas markets. There's armed police there now. He might
Right.
hesitate
Yeah.
taking a vital shot because he doesn't want to go through all that.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and it's not like a decision making thing that's going on in his head. It's just that hesitation factor, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like the fact that you're basically trained not to pull the trigger. It's only ever going to be and it is for a good reason. You shouldn't be trigger happy like in some countries around the world that I won't name. But we're right down the other end of the scale, aren't we? Where, like you say, they might be hesitating because of the
yeah,
implications of what's going to happen if they do take a shot.
yeah. Which is not in the best of interest of anyone.
Yeah.
So, anyway, politics aside, we know how to solve the world. We'll talk about more of that around the fire sometime with
Yeah,
Beef
yeah,
without an audience. Tell
yeah.
me, first in events, what's going on there? You've got something that you've just done, I
Yes, we have.
believe.
Yeah. So just to put it into context for those that don't know, I run a smallish outdoor activities company called First In Events. First In was the motto of the Pathfinders. That's why it's called that. And we do challenges like endurance challenges, like the fan dance,
Hmm.
which is in the Brecon Beacons. Last weekend we actually run an old P Company route that I did when I was serving, again over Pen y Fan and Fan 4. We also do medical courses, so medical training. I do navigation courses. I've got one of those coming up in December. We do a bug out course. So those preppers that are out there watching this, we run quite a decent bug out course, and I don't believe I think that's a fairly. It's not run by anyone else out there. I think we're the
Yeah,
only people in the UK doing that, and that's a pretty good course, to be fair. We do tandem skydiving. We do all sorts of stuff. But yeah, so we just done that last weekend, the P Company route. The next thing I've got coming up is the navigation course, and then we're running a fan dance in February, the 1st of February.
awesome. The website's across the bottom, and I'll also put it in the comments for anyone interested in that.
Cheers.
Quick one about that. The bug out course. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know what I'm going to get. I know the comments. I know all the armchair and sofa preppers are in there
right.
going, I'm never going to bug out. I'm bug in. I don't need
Mhm.
to bug out. Sell it to me? That's me. I'm saying I'm never bugging out. Why do I
Yeah,
need to go
so
on the course?
the course is not just about bugging out. It's actually called the Prepper and Bug Out course. So it's about prepping in general.
Mhm.
But we call it a Prepper and Bug Out course because bugging out is kind of like a popular term that's used within the community. So it's not just about bugging out. We talk about different scenarios. We have group chats. We group together in groups and stuff. I'll give people a scenario, and then we talk through on a whiteboard with a map how you deal with that situation, what would be your actions on. And the whole idea when we're doing that is to bounce ideas off each other, because there's people from all different backgrounds, different ideas, um, and it makes you think. And even when I'm running a course, people come out with ideas that I've never thought of before, different
Yeah,
solutions to different problems. And that's the whole idea, is getting that sort of thought process going, because a lot of people come on this course because they're scared and they've got no sort of, I wouldn't say experience, but no no, well, so no experience of prepping or anything like that before, and they want to meet people and get some ideas off other people. So there's that side of it.
Hmm.
And then we talk through some basic sort of techniques and things that would help in a scenario where you was maybe captured, how to hide certain items in clothing on your body. So it's a little bit like a escape and evasion type thing as well. There's a little bit of that in there.
Yeah.
And then we do a live exercise where you do have to bug out, because it's all very well saying you'll never bug out, but what happens if there's a flood, or what happens if there's a wildfire, or what happens if armed people come through your neighborhood where you live and they're shooting everyone? You're
What
just going
happened
to
if
sit there?
conflict's just generally
Yeah,
spreading this way? You don't want to wait
exactly.
with
Yeah,
your family, right?
yeah. You might have to get the hell out of Dodge. You could be on holiday. You could be on holiday somewhere, and like what happened in a couple of places overseas. I think where was it in Egypt, places like that, where
Yeah.
people just kicking in doors and killing everyone in the rooms in hotels and stuff. What you can do,
Yeah.
just going to sit there and say, "Well, I'm not bugging out. I'm going to stay here." So what we do is we actually do a live exercise, and I one of the exercise, well, one of the lectures I do is talking about an actual bug out bag, so just a go bag basically, what I
Hmm.
carry and what's useful and what's not, and then we actually get people to bring their bug out bags, and we actually do a live bug out exercise where we walk for a few miles, and then camp out in a fairly rough area that's not perfect for camping because it never would be in real life,
Yeah.
um, and just go through that in real life, because then what it does is it brings out the lessons learned from what would I take, what wouldn't I take, is my fitness up to scratch to do this sort of thing, because that's one of the biggest things. It's all very well having all the gadgets known to man, but if you can't walk with your bag on your back for a couple of k's, then you're on the back foot, really, aren't you? So
Yeah.
things like that, and we
It's
do, like, we do some sort of little very minor basic survival technique stuff on there, so just useful stuff to know that might come in handy in a situation that would require them, basically a dangerous situation.
definitely. I mean, I'm always preaching that you need to try these things, especially even more so for the people that have got experience. If you could tab 20 miles with a rucksack on 20 years ago, and you're
Yeah,
under the illusion you can still do that now because you could
yeah,
do it 20 years ago,
yeah, yeah.
reality check. Trust me, I've tried
Yeah,
it.
exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
Knees go, mind goes, everything goes. But this is why you need to go and try these things. Something like first in events is not
yeah,
just you going out into the moors on your own on your hills and being at risk. You're with professionals. You've got the best kind of advice. You're surrounded
yeah,
by like-minded people. So it's probably the safest environment you could do that kind of training in, I would say.
yeah. And like I say, you get ideas off other people, how they approach problems,
Mhm.
type of kit they use, what works, what doesn't work. But yeah, talking about staying current about in things as well, not just the fitness, but um, navigation and first aid and self defense, all those personal skills. Again, if you did those 20 years ago and you was really good at it, you was a mega ninja at flipping navigating, doesn't mean you're any good at it now. You need to stay current in these things, don't you?
I need to. That's something I've always been able to map read, but then I think to myself, when's the last time I did it?
Yeah,
Because if you don't have to, generally,
yeah. It's a
so
degradable skill. And again, same with the medical skills. You might remember some bits and pieces, but until you've done a course relatively recently, it's easy to forget.
mhm,
How many breaths, how many rescue breaths is it, and how many compressions.
yeah,
How do I deal with an airway? How do I get that person in the recovery position again? Was it like this? Or was it like that? When do you use a tourniquet? How do you apply a tourniquet? There's loads of different things. But yeah,
yeah.
if you're not current in those skills, then thinking you was great just because you did it 20 years ago is not going to cut the mustard when it
It,
comes to doing it for real.
exactly, and it's the worst time to learn when it's a
Yeah,
real stress environment. It's better to
yeah,
learn in peacetime and stuff like that. And I know
yeah.
so many preppers that have tourniquets in the kit and have
Well,
no idea how to use them or where to use them on the body,
yeah,
and I
and
can
when
see
to use
lots
them.
of crushed arms and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah. When to use them is a big one as well, because just
Yeah.
because you're bleeding doesn't mean you stick a tourniquet on.
Hmm.
Because when you put that tourniquet on, there's a good chance you're going to cause damage, potential loss of a limb.
Yeah.
Not definitely, but could do. And if you could solve that just by putting direct pressure on and some other kind of dressing, that might be preferable to risking that limb.
Yeah. Definitely. So go and check out First Aid Events. Excellent, like ways to learn and superb. There'll be new events on there all the time.
Cheers.
Away from that, What's going on with the YouTube channel? I mean, I've just seen you've done a jump, which it makes me sick watching. I'm not going to lie, Tom. I don't do heights at the best of times.
Yeah.
But you were doing it with like a Bergen between your legs, practically.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah. So I was out in America in August. As soon as I got back from Vietnam, basically, I had 36 hours in the UK, and then I went out to the States for 2 weeks. And I was hosted by Crossfire. They sponsored me to go over there, and we did a whole load of footage, a load of filming over there. Nice. It was mainly military kind of theme stuff, a lot of live firing, contact drills, that sort of thing, field craft. And one of the things we did over there was a jump, skydive from 14,000 feet with one of their rucksacks. So I jumped with it strapped to the front of the harness, and I did a video where I'm basically talking about the techniques we used when I was in the Pathfinders doing military freefall, so high altitude parachuting with all the equipment.
Yeah, it looked insane. And this is just to be this clear, this isn't some idiot like me just sat in a chair telling you about these things. You watching this happen, it's scary.
But yeah, that was fantastic. I loved it. Jumping with equipment is very difficult to do in the UK. You can't just strap bits of kit to you, because obviously it can be very, very dangerous. In the States, they're a little bit more open to you doing that kind of thing. And once I kind of put their minds at rest of the experience that I've got, because I've done obviously loads of this in the military, and they were kind of like, yeah, okay, go for it. And it worked out really well, to be honest. It was great. And really good.
I'm right in thinking you've jumped over France before, like the airborne jumps over France. You've done that before, haven't you?
I've done the 50th, 60th, 70th, and 80th anniversaries of D-Day. Jumped every time on each of those occasions. And I actually did a video last year on the 80th anniversary for D-Day. Jumped out of Dakota in all Second World War gear and all that.
Have you done it? So that was my next question. Have you done it in like the full Second World War stuff and stuff like that?
I've done it a few times, and Arnhem as well in Holland. Awesome. But yeah, I made a video and put that on the channel. That was quite a decent video, to be fair. Doing that Dakota jump in June last year. Sorry, it's really good.
I'm gonna have to go digging further back now. That's it. If you've not already seen, I mean, I'm sure you have, but if you've not already subscribed, go and check out @Prepared Pathfinder. The link will be in the description below as well.
Cheers, mate.
It's not just like watching him jump out of a plane and making yourself feel a bit sick and, like me. But I mean, you just did a one on the smock, which has got some great advice and tips and very little hints and tips that you just don't even think of at the time. So an absolute wealth of knowledge from this gentleman here. So Tom, thank you for joining me again on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Hopefully we get to meet soon, and we will not have the child with us because the missus wants to go for a drink with your missus. So there you go. That's
that'd be carnage.
We don't get involved, mate. We step back and learn.
Yeah, project.
Thanks very much, Tom. And to everyone else, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to click all the links below and go and see Tom on his channel. And we'll see you in another one really soon.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.